I've turned on the recording, so welcome to our Spring 2019 CIS online courses, Connect-a-Palooza. I'm John Beck. I'm in the instructor for several of the CIS-101 online courses, as well as the CIS-117 and CIS-107 courses this term. And when I have a Connect-a-Palooza or Hangout, and I may offer additional ones depending on demand during the term, they're entirely optional, and I will record them and post them. So if anybody can't be present, they can, skim through it later and pick up the highlights and look in detail anything that they want to see. If they have questions about, you're welcome to send me an email mailbag question. I'll answer it. The agendas for these things, generally speaking, are entirely open. It's whatever students want or need, and the up to about an hour and a half, the meeting goes in whatever direction you want and lasts as short or as long. You're also welcome to come and go, drop in and drop out on the meeting. If you drop in and there's something interesting happening, or you're having problems or questions with your assignments, we can work on it. And if not, just cruise on out, and that's fine. So before I get started, does anybody here have a burning question or something that's really frustrating you at this point in the term, just right out the gate?
I have a question.
I sent you a request. This is Jennifer. I sent you a request for one of those cloud computers.
Yes, and I've granted it.
Yeah. I haven't logged on. I just got home from work and ate dinner, and here I am at this, so I haven't had a chance to. But all that I do is
I'll demonstrate it. There's a video there to show you, but I will demonstrate it tonight how to do that, because those that are in the 107 and 117 classes, I provide free cloud computers, Windows computers in the cloud that are fully configured with the software that you need for those two classes this term. We don't do that in 101. Basically, any computer that you have for the 101 course should be adequate to do all the exercises. You don't need any specialized software for the 101 online. And then on the 101, what I will demonstrate tonight that's a little bit different is accessing the textbook publisher's companion web portal, which is MindTap, where some of the exercises and practice materials are located. Those are not directly graded. They are required but not graded. They are, we have developed some special question banks that we put into our midterms and final exams. So if you are doing them, the skills you acquire there will be reflected in the exam, and goodness help you if you're not doing them, because it may be that those areas are a little bit weaker in your comprehension and understanding. That's kind of how that's laid out.
Call you John?
Certainly, call me John, Mr. Beck, Professor, whatever makes you comfortable.
Can I call you John Beck?
You can call me John Beck, sure.
My best friend's name, his name is John Beck, and everybody just calls him by his first and last name. So that's what I'm used to calling.
A very good friend of mine, his daughter, who we grew up, our kids grew up together about the same age. We did some vacationing together. And for, I think, the first 20 years of her life, she thought my name was John Beck. And finally she asked me, John Beck, what's your last name? And I said, Beck. And she said, oh, John Beck Beck. What an interesting name. Yes, it is.
So I had a question about Cengage Unlimited. There is the hard copy that we could rent for $7.99.
If you are a Cengage Unlimited subscriber, then you can rent, and I believe the shipping is included, for $7.99. I think it's probably, in most cases, a loose leaf edition of the textbook. Like, it's 3-hole punched, and you would put it in a binder. So the Cengage Unlimited is probably most economical if you are taking more than one class this term that happens to include a Cengage text. Hey, Joel.
Right.
So You can, you do not have to rent the hard copy text from, under the Cengage Unlimited subscription. I'll show you why I think it's worthwhile. So let's go ahead and dive into one of the 101 courses. So here's whether you're in the 54322 section, I'm teaching two sections of it this term, or 57120, they're basically identical. It's just your classmates are going to differ depending on which section you landed in. And you come in to, and this is Canvas, let's start at the very beginning. How do I get into this Canvas thing? So I'm going to open up a browser, and let me slide it back. It's open on my second monitor. So the official way to get in here is to go through Pipeline, and you log in. I'm already logged in, so it didn't challenge me for my credentials. And then up here in the ribbon is this Canvas thing. You can also go directly. You can either click here. There is a direct URL. If you go to canvas.sbcc.edu, that will take you directly in. Again, I didn't get challenged for the login because I'm already authenticated. I've got another browser open, which I'm authenticated. And what you should see here are your courses that you're currently enrolled in this term. Now, on some occasions, not all the courses will show up, in which case what you can do is if you come into courses and look at all courses, so you'll notice that I have courses that are starred. Those are the ones that are showing up. If you have one that's not starred, clicking it will change it from starred or unstarred and turn it on or turn it off in your dashboard view. Okay, so that's how you would fix it if something doesn't show up in your dashboard view. Okay, so now let's go into this Canvas thing. And Canvas is the name of the learning management system that SBCC uses. It's provided to us by the state. A lot of the community colleges, therefore, are using it. There are others you may have heard of, Moodle, Blackboard, Sakai, eCollege, WebCT. There's all kinds of these things. We happen to be using this one called Canvas and kind of standardized on it. Okay, so we're in our Canvas, and each one of these courses we refer to as a course shell. It's a container. And so here's the container for the CIS-101 section 54322 course, and we click on it, and this course has a home page set up with quick links to navigate to. Okay, so you can go to directly to the links. You'll see that there's also an area you can view announcements, the syllabus. You can get the modules view, which gets rid of this home page, and you can see the individual modules week by week is how they're organized in my classes. You can go to your gradebook, and some of these you may not be able to see. NetTutor, if you want to request online tutoring, we're contracted with a tutoring company to augment our campus tutors. So even if you're online, some topics are they provide a tutor for, and some they don't. But you can always take a shot. You're also welcome, of course, to contact me if you need a little bit of extra coaching or something. We set up a virtual office meeting, or you can come into the campus, and I will help you. Starfish will hook you up, connect you to your counselor if you need to request a counseling appointment or that kind of thing. And then NameCoach is kind of a nifty widget. It helps you to, if you want to learn how to properly pronounce the names of your peers and college students from around the world. It's a AI with a lot of good intelligence for how do you pronounce some of these different names and surnames. So that's kind of fun. I always like to just ask and have a student repeat it for me a couple times, and I practice it and hopefully don't mangle it too badly. All right, so let's take a look at, I'm going to dive in directly to week 1. This will take me to the modules view, and it'll scroll down automatically to week 1. And I talked about in CIS-101, so this doesn't pertain to the 107 or the 117 course, but in CIS-101, we're using, in addition to the textbook and the material found here in Canvas, we're using the publisher's companion site, which is called MindTap. And if you click here, it will, sorry about that, it will take you to the MindTap portal. The very first time that you come in here, it is going to challenge you for your Cengage ID and password. So the very first time, you're going to have to use, you should already have used your registration card to log in to Cengage and set up a Cengage ID and password. And one time only, you have to provide that. And once you've done that, after that, it will pop through just the way mine did. It will do a single sign-on. And so here we are. Here's the digital content for Module 1, or digital content is the topic of Module 1 under the Digital Revolution. And there's practice quiz. I wish they'd let us reorder these. We requested that as a feature because the practice quiz probably belongs at the bottom after you've done the training modules. But there's training modules and test modules and so forth. None of these materials are directly graded. Again, these are things we've taken the activities that you're supposed to practice here and review, and we've developed questions that we put in our question banks for the midterms and for the final. You'll also see that there is the full book. There's all kinds of support widgets over here, and you're welcome to explore these. I'm not going to demonstrate them all, but the one that is probably most useful is full book. And in the full book, let me expand that to cover the whole page. You can come in here and you can either look at it page by page, just like flipping the pages of a book, and you can resize this if you wish. You can also go to the chapters, and so as we get further in the semester, if we're, let's say, on chapter 6 on software, and you wanted to come back and look at digital devices, you can come here and just start going through and here's the sort of the short contents for that unit, and you can skip directly to it, or you could just start paging through and reading. And as I said, as an ebook, I think it leaves a lot to be desired, the way it scrolls and paginates, but it works, and all the content is there, with the exception of maybe a couple of the appendices. But those are not things you normally go to anyway, or you can access in other ways. Just searching information on the net. So if the appendices have the ASCII code table, for example, you can find that in Google as well. The book is not the unique source of that information. Questions so far? Okay, so that's MindTap and a little bit about Canvas. Now, the other question that Jennifer had asked, she said, well, what about these cloud computers with the software pre-configured that we can remotely control? And those are not for the 101 class. Those are for the 107 and the 117, the database courses that I'm teaching. And so let's take a look at how those work. And again, I can either go back through my dashboard and see the courses and navigate that way, or I can navigate directly by courses. So if I want to go directly to the 117 course, here I am. And if I scroll down, there's all kinds of good stuff here. There's a course welcome, a little bit of, what do you need? How do I succeed in this course? Sort of a little just course gestalt kind of stuff. There's the Canvas tutorials, the Canvas student guide, and there are your practice activities. These are required, but they're not any points. And even though this says 10 points, it's a practice quiz, so it doesn't count toward your actual grade. You just quizzes, even practice quizzes for whatever reason, have to have points associated with them. The reason that I have you do those three things, what are the three things you're going to need to do for points throughout the term? Well, you're going to need to participate in discussions. Well, that's what the orientation forum is. You're going to have to be able to upload assignments correctly to the right Dropbox. That's what the practice assignment's for. And you're going to need to take online quizzes. So this is kind of a low stakes way for you to practice all of the required skills before it really matters, before the week 1 deadline. These are open to you right away and you can start in on. I also look at in the orientation forms, find out a little bit who you are, what are you hoping to get out of the class, what can I do to connect you better with what your goals are for the class, that kind of thing. Okay, so the course Q&A under help, some troubleshooting stuff, but what I want to focus on here is let's go down and take a look at CloudTime. Okay, so what is CloudTime? There's an explanation in here. You can go read about it. Basically, it's the Amazon Web Services cloud, but rather than having you have to learn the Web Services console, I've got a integration tool here that allows you to just launch a computer I've already set up and assigned for you. You need to give me a request so that I can grant it. It's kind of funky that way, the tool I'm using. You know, if you don't ask for it, I can't give it to you. But once you've made your request by visiting this, you'll be able to come back in here and say launch a CloudTime computer. Okay, and so I've got, let's see, Michael, I've already assigned his computer because he's already sent a request in. And if you take a look, this is the instructor view. If I look at the actions, see that there are two people here that have actually visited this page and then told they didn't have one. Until they visit that page, I can't grant them one. That's how this software works. It doesn't know about you till you visited the page. And so I need you to do that, and then having done that, you post in the discussion, say, hey, I visited the page, Professor, go ahead and give me my machine, and then I'll assign it. Once you have your own machine assigned, you won't be able to see everybody else's in your view. You'll just see your one machine that's assigned to you. And then you can come over here and start it. You can either click to change the instant state from stop to running, or come into actions and let's see, we can also change the instant state here. I would just come right here and I'm going to start it up. Yep, I want to change the instant state, and now it's pending. And if I reload the page after a couple minutes, it's going to go to running. Now, running means it's booting or is completely booted and ready to go. But remember, when you start up your computer, you know, you usually have to wait a couple minutes. So even though this says running, if I jump in here right away, especially the very first time you've logged into it, you may not be able to connect or you may get a black screen for a minute or two, okay? But let me show you what you do here. And this applies, I'm gonna show you how to do it in Windows, but you can also do it on Mac, you can do it on Chromebook. In fact, you can download the remote desktop protocol client even for a tablet or iPhone. A little awkward to control a full computer and keyboard from a smartphone, but I've had students do it, and you can do it successfully. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to highlight and copy, Control C. I've just copied that IP address. The IP address is the unique public network address that I can then connect to that as if it was like a website or a web server, but I don't do it through my browser. I'm going to come over here and say RDP and run the Windows Remote Desktop Connection client. If you're running a Mac and you don't have this, you can download it from the Mac iTunes store. It's free. Okay. So I start that up, and it's remembering the last machine I connected to, and your IP address is going to change. It's not going to stay the same. So you're going to look at it each time. I paste it in here. One other step. I don't want to connect with no username or with the default username. I'm going to be capital ADMINISTRATOR, administrator. And then I say connect. And the password, so in the CIS-117 course, let me show you in the clear so you can see what the default password is, and you can change this. And so for this class, it's SBCC-CIS-117, okay? And this is also in the documentation if you forget. So I'm just going to paste that in and say, okay. And yes, I trust it. And now, even though this looks like my Windows screen, this is actually, see, my Windows is really behind there. This is the remote desktop protocol client, and this is my remote machine for CIS-117. Okay. And in 117, the SQL server that you'll be using should already be started and running. And I've got a shortcut for you here for the SQL Server Management Studio. You can click and that will start up. And this is running pretty snappy tonight, but if you've never, the very first time you do these things, there's usually some user configuration that's going on behind the scenes, so it may take a little bit longer. And now I'm up, and as far as connecting, I just take the default database and say connect. And let's take a look at the databases that are already installed for you. Isn't that lovely? You don't have to do the work of installing SQL Server database and installing SQL Server Management Studio, or then running the create scripts to create all the databases we might work with this term. They're all there for you. So this is probably the easiest way to get going. Even if you are very techie and you really love to install the software for yourself, I do recommend that you go ahead and request a CloudTime machine. They're free. Set it up, make sure you connect to it, make sure that you know how to use it. That way, if something goes wrong with your computer breaks, it gets stolen, something else happens, you've always got a second solution for how to do your work for that class. So this is the 117 database class. Any questions about this so far?
Oh, yeah.
Did I hear a question? I'm not sure.
No, I was just saying that I'm in 107, so.
Okay,
but
let's do the same thing for 107.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the SQL Server connection that I've got here, and then I'm going to shut the computer down. Now, here's the thing. If I just close this, I'm going to leave that computer running. Now, even though this computer is free for you, it's not free for me, and it uses our department funds, which are pretty scarce. We try and get a lot of Amazon Web Services Educate grant money for this, but it doesn't cover everything. So when you're done, it's like think of it as a taxi meter running. If you would, please go and do a proper power shutdown. And that will, aside from the fact that I still have to pay for the storage for the system image, it stops the meter from running and doesn't cost us nearly as much once this is actually shut down. Okay. And in fact, if we were to come over here and after a minute, this is running right now. If I reload it, you see that it's gone to stopping, and after another couple minutes, it'll go to stop. So let's do the same thing with a CIS-107 machine and see some of the software there that's just a little bit different. Okay. So I'm going to take this in the course. I'm going to go back over, excuse me, to the 107 course. And again, I designed my courses very similarly, so you have the same sort of thing. Those three most recent announcements at the top. You can see all the announcements for the term. If you want to look at an old one, by clicking on announcements. And then I've got the orientation materials, tutoring and counseling stuff, the course Q&A discussion, get or give help in the class, and then all your software requirements, and then this CloudTime thing. So again, you would request a CloudTime computer. So here's the discussion. Once you've actually gone to the CloudTime page the first time and it says, oh, you don't have a machine, so you see that Jennifer's already been there and she requested it, and I said, you're all set, Jennifer, and Linda, same way, and Tanya. So they've all got their machines assigned. Once you're there, and you've had your machine assigned, we can go over to launch. And now if we take a look again, from your view, you would only see your one machine. As the instructor, I can see all the assignments. and I've got one parked down here that I use as the instructor machine. So I'm going to toggle that from stopped to running, and it's pending, and we'll give it a minute or two. And again, this is really, even though it's a virtual computer, it's not already running and left running. They will shut themselves down after 8 hours. So one tip, it can't tell the difference. The way that I've set it up is pretty simple-minded. It can't tell the difference if you've been working straight for 8 hours or if you forgot and walked away from the machine. So if you happen to be working in your 8th hour and you're actually working on the machine, before it gets to the timeout and just shuts down on you, save your work, shut it down, restart it, come back and resume your work. I really kind of, rarely is it a problem, but I really assume that students are going to, come in, do their work, and then shut the computer down when they're done. Or if they didn't, then it shuts it down, so I don't pay for 24 hours by however many days of usage. It's just, intermittent usage. Okay, so if I take a look, it's now running. And again, I'm going to copy that IP address. And again, that's going to be a dynamic IP address. It's going to change every time. I come over here and run the remote desktop connection. And I replace the old IP address with the new IP address, show options, and it's administrator. And this one, let's see, before I connect there, let's take a look at the, if you click on access, here are the instructions, and here's your password for the 107 class. I use the same image for the CIS-243 class, so it's 107/CIS-243. I'm going to copy that. Let me put it back in my in the notepad so you can see it in clear text, real large and clear. And now I'm going to come back in here and connect, and when it asks me for the password, I'm just going to paste that in, and OK. And yes, I accept that certificate. And now my desktop is loaded. And here you'll notice I have quite a bit of software for the 107 class. So I have the diagramming tool. I have Project Libre, which is a open source equivalent of Microsoft Project. That's actually for the 243 class. We won't be using that, I don't think, in the 107 class. If you forget what your MySQL password is as the super user, there it is, your credentials. The super user ID is roots and the password is password. Okay, and I have a folder, and this is similar in the 117 class. All of the things that I would ask you otherwise to download. If you need to rerun the SQL scripts or get your local databases, copies of them are already here. You could always go back to Canvas and download them again, but I've set it up for you. And those are fresh as of the beginning of this term, so that everything should be current in the most recent versions. There's also Libre Office. And so in the 107 class, we're going to use a couple databases. One is a small individual client database under Libre Office called LibreOffice Base. And that's similar to Microsoft Access. But you're also going to be using the MySQL database, which is an open source industry standard database, very widely used in industry. And so one of the things here is when you open this up, is your SQL Server running? And I noticed down here that I've got this little SQL Server notifier. It tells me, this tells me that the instance is running. If it wasn't running, I would need to start it. SQL Server in the 117 class almost never shuts down on you. MySQL, depending on what you're doing, you can tell it to shut down, and maybe you didn't mean to, so you may need to restart it. And then we just go ahead, excuse me, connect to a database, and it's localhost, and we tell it OK. And the very first time you connect, it may tell you it's migrating your database connections. That's fine. And then we have our databases out here. So this is, if you're comparing the two database classes, my Sequel Workbench is a SQL programming client, and it's similar to the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, so here are my databases, and I could come and explore them and look at what tables are there, and I could start to use sports, select star from patient, and then get my results. Okay, so you can start running your queries right away. All right. Questions from anybody to this point? I'll take a moment. I don't think I acknowledged that Madhavi had joined the meeting at some point, so welcome.
Hi.
Hi. So, Madhavi, what course are you taking this term?
I'm taking this one.
The CIS-107?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions for us so far?
No, not so far. Actually, I need to study one more time. So I need to study the record session because I started late. So
no worries.
yeah.
Don't be shy about asking questions. I don't get upset when people ask questions more than once. It just tells me that I didn't get the job done the first time. I need to find another way of explaining that and connecting you to the answer. I'm happy to do that. I don't get tired of it. I don't get frustrated. I don't get mad at you for asking. I sometimes get a little frustrated with myself because I go, why am I not answering this well enough that it's clear? But we'll keep, as long as you will stay patient and keep at it, I will stay patient and keep at it. And I like questions. The other thing I'll mention is that instructors are only in their office something like 5 hours a week. And I don't think that's very accessible for students that are online. So I have my office phone number forwarded to Google Voice, which between the hours of 9 in the morning and 8 at night will hunt my cell phone down. You probably heard it ringing in the background here because I hadn't muted it. That's probably what it is somebody was calling my office to leave me a message. But it will actually connect with me. And if I'm not in a meeting between 9 in the morning and 8 at night, Monday through Friday, I will pick up the phone and you've got me. So let's see.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely have this person. Yeah.
So, and outside of those times, it won't ring my phone, but it will send me a text with a it'll do speech recognition, and it'll send me a text of whatever message you left on my recorder, and then I can look at it on my phone over the weekend or whenever. So even if it's not a work day, I'll look at it and go, oh, that's really urgent. That student's going to be really frustrated. I'll take care of it. I'll get back to them before the weekend is out. I may not be able to do it instantly on the weekends. I have family obligations and a so-called life as well. So a little patience and understanding is appreciated. But ordinarily, I will be getting back to you, during the term within 24 hours, next business day, and as often as possible, same day. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, John. This is Jennifer, and I do have a question about. I'm going to try to install the software on my computer, but if I can't, I always have the backup since I got the cloud stuff. But I had a question last night because I was clicking on the videos for Windows users, and I noticed it's also under for Chapter 1. It talks about LinkedIn Learning. And when I clicked on there, it's like, I'm not on LinkedIn. Do I have to create a user ID and password? Or
so no, you don't. And that's a great question. So LinkedIn Learning is what used to be lynda.com. LinkedIn bought lynda.com. And let's take a look at that. So I get to it a little bit differently than you do if I go into the raw, and all the lynda.com content is available to you for free, which is totally cool. But if I come in here under faculty resources, you have one a tab that's called student resources from Pipeline. And so I can go into LinkedIn Learning and log into it, and it will continue to pester me and say, don't you want to link your LinkedIn account? Yes, you can.
That's where I was last night.
Okay, you may do so, but you are not required to do so. You could also create, if you don't want your professional LinkedIn account created, or LinkedIn, you could add your Santa Barbara, you could create your own Santa Barbara, a different LinkedIn account for yourself. But you can always just opt to say, no, I'm not going to link my LinkedIn account to lynda.com. Click on that and say, do not connect my account, and you'll still get in. Okay, so now this gives you all of Lynda, and that would be a little, or I said Lynda, all of LinkedIn Learning, which really overwhelming. They have classes on just about everything. I mean, just all kinds of things, not just technology classes, although it's heavy in technology. But what Jennifer is referring to is in some of my courses, I have links to LinkedIn Learning to supplement my lectures, because there's some really good stuff out there. And why, if they've got something that's really rich and maybe better than I can do without a studio and the support they have, why do you want second fiddle? Why do you want to see me? So I'll have my lectures, but I'll also have stuff from LinkedIn Learning. And once you have been validated through LinkedIn Learning, you logged in that once, the next time during the same session that you come in, it'll just take you right to that linked content. So here, this is talking about how to install MySQL on Windows, and you can go ahead and play that. So does that clarify that question?
Well, I'll have to listen to your recording. My phone dropped out and I had to redial and get reconnected. So
I'm happy to repeat myself. So basically what I was saying, Jennifer, is that you don't have to accept the option to link your own LinkedIn account into LinkedIn Learning. If you choose to, that's fine. Okay, but it doesn't matter. There's also that option that I just took, and you'll be able to see it when I post the video, that it said continue without linking my account. And so I guess we're doing LinkedIn while we're linked out. But we can go ahead and pass through without joining or linking our account to LinkedIn Learning. And these links will still take you right in to the individual videos that I want to share with you as part of our course lectures. So again, here we are in Canvas, you're in the course, and let's scroll down, say you're in you're in week 2, and here's a lecture supplement on database management system. So it's kind of a general overview. You click on that, and if it's the first time you've done this, it will ask you if you want to link your account, and if not, it should go ahead and pass the login in, and you're ready to start watching your video. Okay. So the videos are fully transcripted, which is cool. So you can turn closed captioning on and off. And a really great way, I mean, I know people are pressed for time these days. So notice that I've got my my playback speed set to 2 times. So if this is 4 minutes and 24 seconds, at 2 times, it's going to take me 2 minutes, 12 seconds to go through it, but it's a little bit hard to understand the speech sometimes. And so I turn closed captioning, on, and then when I play it, and I think this will not show on the recording because I think I didn't turn that option on. So if anybody's viewing this through the recording, you're not going to hear the sound that others may. Okay, but so I can turn the closed captions on or off, and at 2 times speed, it goes through very quickly. And then if I see something I really want, I can always, move backward or forward and then change my playback speed to normal. I can pause the video and whatnot. And that's true also with the lectures that I have done, the video lectures that I have posted. I host them on YouTube. They are also closed captioned. They're auto captioned, so they may be less than perfect. If anybody needs perfect captioning, let me know. I will send them out right away to the state. It takes them a little while to get them captioned, but ultimately I'll have them all professionally captioned, but they're at least machine captioned to begin with, which is, uses a speech recognition algorithm. It's pretty good. Usually, even when it gets it wrong, you understand what what should have been there, rather than what it captioned. So, all right. Any other questions about the course?
Oh, I'm good. So far, I haven't got into it that much, so.
All right, so for anybody who's brand new, in each of the courses there's online material. I highly recommend going through the Canvas Student Guide, and it's kind of, when you get into the Canvas Student Guide, it's kind of divided up to people who have taken online courses before and kind of know what to expect, and for those that are complete newbies, and there are videos and tutorials linked through that. The other thing that's really important for each of the courses is, and I may update the syllabus in the term if there are things that change. My office hours, for instance, may change as schedule changes during the first couple weeks. There's a lot of scheduling changes and committees move things around and whatnot. So I will post an announcement if the syllabus changes, but also you can always get the most current copy of the syllabus here. And you can click here to download it, or if you see this little document preview icon, if you click on that, it will expand out, and sometimes it runs real fast, and sometimes for some reason it seems to run more slowly, but you can scroll through and see the print version of the syllabus. So the print version is the full syllabus. It has all the details about the class norms and expectations and the grading and all that kind of stuff. Academic integrity, DSPS accommodations, all the stuff you would need there. Anything that you have a question about you don't see, of course, ask me. But also underneath that, so I'm going to hide that preview again. Underneath that are the date summaries for materials. The thing to remember though, these are due dates, not the time to get started on it. And so generally speaking, my activities, the submissions do turn off or cut off at the due date, which means that there's no late. My answer for late material is, make up the points with the extra credit opportunities I've provided, and let's have a chat about why are you late? Why are we having problems getting the material done? I'll see what I can do to help connect you with some, whether it's study skills or time management or just understanding the material better so you can get the material in on time. It's really, really important, especially in the 117 course, which is only an 8-week course. It moves very fast. There is no time for falling behind or late. So I really need to connect with you and help you to stay abreast of the course. So, right. Anything else about the college, the department, the division, course mechanics, online courses, things like that? I'm happy to talk about anything. All right, I'm not hearing from anybody, so I'm going to give it another minute for you to take a moment. Of course, you can slide your Zoom meeting off to the side if you need to open up, if you haven't figured that out already. Log into your Canvas, look at things. If you have questions, take a look at the textbooks. Everybody at this point should know multiple ways that they can obtain their textbook. Understand for the 101 class that MindTap is required. So what are the pitfalls there? So in the CIS 101 class, I don't recommend buying a used textbook from a third party. The reason is that it will not come with the access code that you need to get into MindTap, and you will need the MindTap as a study guide. The materials in there, the activities are required, even though I'm not grading them directly, and they really are very important to your learning and development in the course. So two options there. One is either buy the Cengage Unlimited subscription, and I don't care whether you buy the materials from the Santa Barbara bookstore or not, except that the other option is to buy the loose leaf textbook for 101 with the MindTap activation card. If you're not buying unlimited, that would be a good one to get from the Santa Barbara City bookstore, because they have the package together. And if you buy the text separately, you're going to have to probably rebuy the access card, probably directly from Cengage, and at that point you're going to be paying more than you would have paid for the Cengage Unlimited subscription. So I don't want the costs to be any higher to you than they're already too high. I'd like to see them, cheaper, or find some way of making them free. But since I can't make that happen for you, let's at least not spend more money than we need to. So renting a textbook in the other classes, the 117 and 107 class, renting is fine. Buying used is fine. In the syllabus, I will tell you whether a prior edition of the text is acceptable, or generally it's not preferred. I really want you on the same version of the textbook that we're using. And in some classes, that's really critical. I've tried to decouple most of the exercises that I can from that, but in some cases that's not possible, so you can be at a disadvantage if you don't have the text. Also, we generally have copies of the text on reserve in the Luria Library on the Santa Barbara City College campus. I mention that, but I understand that for online classes, that a lot of times the reason you're taking courses online is it's not convenient for you to get to campus, so that isn't always a great solution. But for what it's worth, those texts should be available in the library if you need. They're in the reserve collection, so you are probably limited to check out of about 2 hours. I don't think you're able to get them out longer than that, because that's there may only be one copy in the library, so there's other people that may come by and need it. Okay. Anything else anybody would like to share? What are you hoping to get out of your particular course this term? What brought you here? What are you hoping to find useful? All right. Well, I'm not hearing a lot of response and burning desire to seize the microphone and share with us. So I'm going to say going once, going twice. Anybody have anything else that comes to mind you want to mention? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and call it an evening.
I'm good, John. This is
Yay.
Jennifer.
Just to kind of summarize, so Sunday, January 20th, 3 things are due. I guess just for now, the practice assignment, the orientation, and the orientation quiz. Those
Right,
3 things.
And you will notice that's a good point, and this is the 117 class. Disobligingly, for whatever reason, practice quizzes do not show up. Even though I set a due date for it, they don't show up here, which is annoying. But that's something I got to talk to the Canvas people about. I use those. They're really two primary purposes for having you do those. Number one is you will have had a chance, when no points are involved, to practice all of the 3 different modalities you need to succeed this term: posting to a discussion, taking an online quiz, and submitting work to a Dropbox. You get a chance to practice that. The other thing that I use that for, though, and this is important, is if I have students that are not participating in the course during this first week, if I can drop you while you can still get a refund of your tuition if you're really not going to show up, or at least drop you before you have to take a mark of W, I do that. So I look at those, I put the due date early on those so I can kind of look at it and reach out to students who aren't showing up for the class. Did they know that the term has started? Did they forget? Did they not understand how to connect with Canvas? They're looking at Pipeline and they didn't see the Canvas link and they don't know what they're supposed to do. We hopefully have filtered past that point, but occasionally I still get students, especially if they're registering at the last minute and they didn't get all the orientation that they really needed. That's what I use it for. So I could either connect with you early and make sure you're going to be successful, or ease you out of the class before it becomes a cost to you or an albatross around your neck or hits your GPA or that kind of thing. So those are the two purposes of the early due date and the orientation activities. Some of the other classes I may have the early due dates set a little bit differently, and that's because the actual withdraw and drop and those kind of deadlines differ depending on the class. Especially the 117 course, those dates tend to be much sooner because they're that's a short course. It's only 8 weeks long, and they tend to calculate them by law by the percentage of the term. So, great question. So, Joel, I don't know if I had a chance to acknowledge you this evening. Let me see who else might I have missed. Joel, Ryan, didn't hear from you. You guys have any questions for me?
I asked you on the chat. I don't know if you saw it.
I missed the chat.
I was just asking, is there any more meetings throughout the semester on this, or is this kind of it?
This is the one that I have scheduled. That's a definite. Everything else is flexible. It depends upon demand. And during the early weeks, I tend to offer them a lot. And later on in the semester, if things seem to be going well, I tend to back off. A lot of it depends on how well attended it is. And also keeping in mind, the reason people are taking online classes is that there isn't a good time in their schedule to do this kind of thing. So they're always optional. I do record them if anybody shows up. Sometimes nobody shows up. And if there are requests for more, then absolutely, I will host more. The other thing is that the Zoom technology is available to you. So if you want to form study groups, one of my objectives here, and it seldom seems to happen, but sometimes it does, is I want to have students connect with other students in their class or in the program. So if you want to form a study group, you can have virtual meetings. If you want me present, invite me, and if I can attend at that time, we'll work it out. I'll come, and if not, you're welcome to proceed, as a small study group. But if there's demand, if there's an appetite for the Connect-a-Paloozas or the Hangouts or live lectures, I'll do that. And again, generally, I leave the topic and the agenda up to students. If it's a study session, then what I tend to do is I will develop, or I have developed for most of the classes, some parallel questions that are similar to, so if you're doing database queries, I will have a scenario that parallels exactly problem number 3. Everybody has problems with problem number 3. I'll have a problem that is similar. It's sort of like, when you learned algebra in high school, they had the example problems that they walked you through, and then they had the exercise set that you did. And so you could go find in the exercise set, this problem number 3 is just like sample problem A. I'll see if I can walk through A and then apply it. I do the same sort of thing, only I do it live and interactively, so you can ask me questions if you're present. And if you're not able to attend, well, at least you can look at the video. And I'm also very happy to set up a a short virtual meeting, a web meeting outside of office hours on a one-on-one basis if people have questions or are challenged with some part of the course. Just email me, call me, message me through Canvas, and we'll set up a mutually convenient time. And I'm here because I want to connect you with your success. So you tell me what is going to be the best modality for doing that. I also, of course, have on-campus office hours if anybody wants to come in in person. And I usually have some candy and snacks and bottles of water in my office. So you stick your head in, say hi, and scam a candy bar off me even if it's just for that purpose.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Now let's see. Did I miss? I had missed your chat, so I'm looking. I'm sorry. I should have pulled the chat box up, and I just pulled it up now. So I think we answered Joel's earlier question, and I don't think I've got any private chats, which of course I won't show on my main screen. Let me take a look here. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I stopped my share. I'll share the main screen out again. And yeah, I'm not seeing any other chats. So I think we're good. And so I'm going to thank everyone for attending. And of course, as soon as we sign off, you're going to think of something. That's okay. Email me or call me or post to the course Q&A in the CIS-101. It's called Ask the Geek discussion, and I'll be more than happy to address any questions as they arise. Great meeting you all, and thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.